This is Jacob with eMotimo, and today I'm going to be showing you how to set up a virtual production project. Before you get started here, you're going to want to make sure that you've already configured your eMotimo devices to broadcast the Unreal telemetry. If you haven't done that, take a look at our support site to see how you can set that up. You'll also want to have already installed Unreal Engine's Epic Game Launcher, which is the app I am in currently, as well as installed Unreal Engine version 5.2.1. Something else that will be useful as I go through this, I'm going to be setting up an nDisplay and measuring out distances to our camera as well as a turntable in relation to the nDisplay that we are using. You will want to make sure that you have got those measurements for yourself as well. And the important ones to start with are going to be the distance between your display and your turntable, the distance between your display and your camera, and once you know those, we can go ahead and get started. I am going to launch the Unreal Engine 5.2. When that opens up, I'm going to select Film/Video and Live Events, and I'm going to work off this virtual production template project. Go ahead and give it a name. And you can select the location that you want to save your project on your computer. Gonna hit create. Once that opens up, it should look something like this. First thing we're going to want to do is install the plugins we need. We're going to want Switchboard, as well as Live Link over nDisplay, Live Link 3D, and nDisplay. You will also want to check if you have multi-user editing enabled, as this is another common plugin that is used along with Switchboard, and if you don't set this one up correctly, it can cause some undesired behavior until you know how to use the multi-user editing plugin. So I'll show you how to disable that for now as we're going through, and when you want to use it, you'll have to explore how people use that plugin. But once you've enabled those, we're going to restart our project. You should now see we have Switchboard up here. If you've never used Switchboard before, you're going to want to go ahead and launch Switchboard for the first time, as it will start to install some dependencies and get you ready to go to use Switchboard. Should take maybe 5 minutes last time I checked, so you can go ahead and do that and then continue following these steps. I'm going to come over to my outliner pane and just clean up this project a little bit. We're going to get rid of this Cinecamera actor, as we're going to add our own in later. And then I'm going to highlight everything, create a new folder, and just name it default content. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and we're going to add a cinema camera actor. You can give it a name if you want. I'm using an ST4 So I'm gonna name it that so I know which camera is going to be which. Then from there, let's go ahead and set up our live link. You're gonna want to come into Windows, go down to Virtual Production, and find Live Link. It's gonna open this new page. It might be separate from your environment. You can drag it up here and make another tab so you can ideally click between the two tabs. Here we go. Froze for a second. Now that's in here, I'm gonna go ahead, add a live link source. And in here, you can either type in the IP address that you are running your Unreal Engine server on, which for me is the computer I'm using, or you can also try entering 0.0.0.0, and I know I'm using UDP port 40,000 from setting up my eMotimo. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Then as you can see, I just went ahead and jogged my camera a little bit, and we now have 2 camera positions in here. I also have an SA2.6 set up to communicate on port 40,001. So I'll go ahead and add that one in here too. And you'll see I've got a 3rd and 4th camera position that just came in. Next thing I'm going to want to do is save this as a preset so that we're saving our sources when we go and launch Switchboard, or anytime we open this project up again, we don't have to re-add these sources. And I'm going to call it multicam since I'm using an ST4 and SA2.6 for this demo. Some other things I like to do: if I open the project settings, you'll see the valid color and invalid color for when you're receiving data from your cameras. And me personally, I am red-green colorblind and have a hard time seeing this, so I like to change my valid color to the blue, invalid color to the red. And we will also want to set the preset for our project. I'm going to select the multicam one we just created, and those are all the project settings we need to change. So I can go ahead and close out of the project settings. If you ever need to open it again, you can open it here, or you can also come up to Edit and find project settings here. You can now see I'm getting data from my SA2, and if I go ahead and move my ST4 around, you can also see I'm getting data from there. I'm also going to come in here and double check that we know which camera is which. I'm going to select View Options, Show Frame Data, and then I'm going to expand this transform down here. And if I go ahead and jog my camera, I can see that I'm updating the rotation data for camera 1. And on camera 2, we are updating just the z-axis of our rotation. So that's showing me camera 2 is going to be our turntable, and camera 1 has our pan, tilt, and slide, which is being shown here in our y-axis. So that's how you can do a quick check to make sure which camera is going to be your pan and tilt, possibly roll and slide. and which one is going to be your turntable. So back in here, I'm going to select my camera actor. I'm coming down to this details pane. I'm going to click add and search for the live link controller. Go ahead and add that. Then we're going to select camera 1. Now, you don't have to worry too much about this position to start, but as you can see, as I move my camera around, you can see that is now moving in the background as well. So next what we're going to do is go ahead and set up an nDisplay. I'm going to save my project really quick. I'm going to open my content drawer and click Dock and Layout so that it's easier to view. Then I'm going to right click, find nDisplay, choose nDisplay config, create a new configuration, and hit finish. I'm going to name this configuration multicam. Go ahead and double click that to open the blueprint for our nDisplay. You can take this window too and dock it in our project. And now we're looking at our nDisplay configuration. You can see there's step 1, step 2, and step 3 that we're going to walk through. So we're going to start up at that step 1. Okay. To get started here, we're going to delete the nDisplay that's in here to make sure we're starting fresh and we don't have any pre-built settings for us. I'm going to open this, select the nDisplay screen, add that in. I'm going to make that a child of the root component, which it already is. And then I'm also going to add ICVFX camera. I'm going to make that a child of our default viewpoint. Then I'm also going to add another view origin and a second ICVFX camera that is going to be a child of that second viewpoint. Let's go ahead and call this one second camera. So we don't get them confused. We're also going to want to select our nDisplay and come over to this details pane and set up the scale for our nDisplay. So I'm just using the monitor of my laptop. The size of my screen is going to be 52 centimeters by at 28.4 centimeters. Let's also say that my screen is going to be 100 centimeters away from my camera, or 100 centimeters away from the turntable actually, and we'll give it a height, it's 100 as well. Now for my ST4, I'm going to say that one is centered with the screen, set it at a height of 100, and we're going to say it is also 100 centimeters away from my turntable, but on the other side. Then I can select the camera and zero that out so that my camera is now at the viewpoint. Same thing with our second camera. Say it's 100 centimeters back, 100 centimeters up. Whoops. I have to do that on the viewpoint. 100 centimeters back, 100 centimeters up. Let's say it's 50 centimeters to the right of my other camera position, or let's say it's 100. Go ahead and select that camera, and we can zero that out as well to make sure it matches up with the other viewpoint. So now I have two cameras, both looking at our nDisplay that we've got set up. And come over now to step 2, hit add a new cluster node. You're going to want to select the resolution of your nDisplay. I'm leaving mine at full HD. And then you will also want to set the IP address of the computer that is running Unreal Engine, which for me is 192.168.1.24. You can also change your resolution here. If you go ahead and change a preset, this is the field that it is changing. So if you want to do it manually, you can set your resolution down here. That's all we need to set up there. I'm going to go ahead and hit add. You can see we now have something in our step 3. We go ahead and select VP0. And we're going to select the view origin and set that as default viewpoint. You also want to open the projection policy, select mesh, and set mesh to nDisplay screen. I'm also going to open my display settings really quick on my computer, and I'm using this as my nDisplay. Make sure your scale is set to 100%. If you're set to 150 or something like that, the nDisplay is not going to display at the correct resolution. And looking at this, I actually need to update my node 0, so I'm going to change it to 2560 by 1440. So I'm going to select node 0, come over here to the size, change it 2560, 1440. There we go. From there, we should have everything set up. So I'm now going to hit compile and save, and then come back over to my main project. I'm now going to drag and drop my nDisplay into here. Also going to add a or just drag and drop an actor into here. Come up to my details pane, make sure I've in the default content so I'm looking at less stuff. I'm going to make my nDisplay a child of the actor. That way the nDisplay will move around with that. So if I come to this actor and I want to set the position, let's call it -1000, I can now position it wherever I want in this field and drag it around and make sure everything is referencing that actor. I'm also going to add two more actors in here, as well as I need one more cinema camera actor. This one's going to be for our SA2. Gonna make the SD4 a child of actor 2 and SA2 a child of actor 3. And I'm going to make this a child of our nDisplay as well as the actor 3. Now that we've got everything nested the way we would like, let's go ahead and zero out our positions here. And this is already receiving data, so it's not going to zero out. I'm going to go ahead and line it up just so we can see what's going on. Okay. Now we're going to come into the nDisplay and look at the details panel and select our camera 1, which we were going to use as the ST4. I'm going to set the cinema camera actor here. Select our camera, or our second camera instance, our ICVFX, and set that cinema camera actor to reference SA2. There's that. We're now going to set our actors 2 and 3 to be the same values as our viewpoints. So I'm going to come take a look. My viewpoint was -100 and 100, so I'm going to set the ST4. Go ahead, zero that out. -100 and 100. So now that lines up with that viewpoint. Actor 3 was it -100, 100, 100. Now we've got everything lined up. This is where, if you wanted to add some sort of offset, we could. Let's see. Let me position this so we can see it better. Now I'm going to select our actor 3 here. Say we wanted to move our pivot point on our camera. I'm dragging back the actor 3. It's back another 30 centimeters. And then we can take our camera, move the camera forward 30 centimeters. So now it's going to pivot around this point as opposed to around the front of the camera lens. Don't need to do that, but might be useful. And that's how you can go ahead and adjust the pivot point of your camera. Last thing we need to do, our SA2 still needs to get camera data in, so we're going to add a live link controller here. And that is going to be our camera 3 instance. And for our turntable, we're going to select the nDisplay, and we're going to add a live link controller to the nDisplay. Go ahead and do that. And we checked that was camera 2 that has that data. And we're going to want to open our roll controllers, our transform roll. We're going to leave the component picker as the root component, as that's where we have set up our turntable. This is the root component, which we were basing the distance. We were assuming that this is our turntable and that we were set our camera's 100 centimeters back from it and our nDisplay 100 centimeters on the other side. The height there does not matter. Now that we've got that, we are going to turn off the location data as well as scale and teleport, so we're only using the rotation for our turntable. Now, if I go ahead and rotate the turntable, you'll see the world along with the nDisplay. The nDisplay and the cameras are orbiting that center point. You can also see I'm controlling the slider as well as the pan and the tilt. And if I go over to my SA2, you can also see that the SA2 is live as well. Now that we've got all of our live links connected, we can go ahead and open Switchboard. So I'm going to launch the Switchboard listener and then select Launch Switchboard. Give that about a minute to open up. Let's see, I'm going to delete the current configuration. Okay. I'm going to go ahead, add a new configuration, select the new project path, and I know mine's here in Unreal Projects. We're doing the eMotimo tutorial, and here is my project file. Go ahead and hit open there. You'll see the other path auto-completed, and we can go ahead and hit OK. We're going to want to add an Unreal device. I'm going to name it Editor, and it's running on my computer, which is at this IP address. Then we will also add an nDisplay. Hit populate. You'll see the nDisplay come in. If you have more than one, you might need to browse and select which one you are using. Then we can go ahead and connect both of these. Here's where we're going to want to disable multi-user stuff. So we're going to deselect the auto join down here, and we're also going to open the settings, go to multi-user, and deselect auto launch and the launch multi-user, as well as auto build and auto endpoint, until we want to enable that again. We're going to leave everything related to multi-user off for now. Go ahead and close that. Now, to launch the nDisplay, I need to make sure that I close my editor. So I'm going to come over to the project and save and close that. And then my nDisplay is so small for this tutorial. I'm going to move things a lot closer together so we can see the frustrums of our cameras. Say this is 5 centimeters away from turntable, and then let's move both of these to 5 centimeters away as well. Go ahead and save that. Hit compile and save. Save the project. Close our editor. So the last step we need before launching our nDisplay is to select our level, which we were using main v project/maps. And then we can launch our nDisplay. And there you have your frustum, and you can see it is reacting to your camera, as well as has slide control and your turntable. Doesn't make much sense unless looking through your actual camera. But you can also see the frustum for the SA2 if I move that one around as well, which is currently a lot bigger. That's all you need to set up your first virtual production environment. We can close our nDisplay and reopen our project. And now you can use Switchboard to toggle between the two and make any changes, switch between levels if you decide to make more than one level. And every time you open this, you still have your sources. So that's the basics of getting started. Keep an eye out for videos of how we are using this in our studio that will be coming out soon. And I'll see you next time.